Somebody must be wondering right now, why a van? Why take a van and convert it instead of just going and buying an RV?
Your whole life comes down to a balancing act between comfort and mobility. So most of your audience lives in apartments or homes they own. And so they have an enormous amount of comfort, but they have zero mobility. You're not moving that home. If you decide you're going to move, that becomes an enormous chore. And the house steals from you your potential of mobility because you got to pay for it.
That's right.
You got to go to a job, you got to pay for it. And a few don't have to, but they're the rare ones. So you give up mobility for comfort. Well, if you decide I'm going to live on wheels, every choice offers that exact choice. If I want to be in an RV, I get a lot of comfort, but I give up a lot of mobility. How do I lose mobility? Well, maybe I'll get 5 miles to the gallon. I got to be able to pay for the gas to drive 1,000 miles. That's a lot of money. And if I don't have that money, then I've lost that ability just to drive across the country because I want to. You can't take them much into the back country. They're too big.
Right.
And you just can't take them. I routinely go places where you wouldn't even think about going in an RV.
Right.
They're hard to drive around the city. They're hard to park in the city. I mean, if you've got a 30-foot RV, you get an enormous amount of comfort. But go park that downtown New York and tell me how that went for you. You've lost the mobility that I have in a regular old van. They're driving around every city. They're driving around back countries, country roads. And so there's always, and the gas mileage is really a big part of it. And so for some people, a minivan is a better choice. You get most of the comfort, not all, but you can get into the mid 20s or higher in miles per gallon. So that's a good choice too. Everyone has to make their choice. I think the van is the very best choice of comfort and mobility. It's adequate amount of comfort, not a lot, but adequate, and adequate amount of mobility.
You just heard a clip from the Inner Peace with Dr. Reese podcast. Available on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and more. Subscribe today and move a step closer to liberation.
My friend, in order to keep this podcast free for the public, I could really use your help. I'd love for you to consider becoming a patron. In return, I'll provide you with behind-the-scene updates and bonus material. You can also support by listening to my meditations on Spotify or Apple, buying my books on Amazon or Audible, and by simply sharing my work. I appreciate you. Walk with peace.